Hi internet friends, and welcome back to Tama, a series where instead of looking at a single game or a broader aspect of the franchise, we zoom way in on just one element of game design and how that helps build the RPG adventure aspect of Pokemon games. Today we're taking a bite out of open world game design. This is something that I haven't really had the opportunity to talk about a lot on my channel in the past, but I love open world games. Now, I haven't played every open world game, but I love Bethesda games like Skyrim, Obsidian games like Fallout New Vegas, and even sillier games like Saints Row. You know, it's weird how all of those examples are like 10 years old. How completely out of character for me. But anyway, my favorite open world game is definitely Fallout New Vegas. The Mojave Desert isn't all that big compared to the maps of more modern entries into the genre, but it is amazingly detailed for the size it is. All over the map you can find environmental set dressing, deliberately placed to break up the otherwise endless desert landscape and characterize the setting. Secrets like the crashed vertibird in the way south of the map, where you'd have otherwise no reason to visit, secret tunnels in the sewer system where your unique weapons are hidden away, and unmarked places on the map, where you can find a burrow of rad scorpions and their queen. Little stories that may not have a mechanical point, but are tucked away to reward you for exploring and learning more about the world. This video is about Pokemon, by the way, I promise I'm getting to it. Stuff like that is what made me fall in love with the genre. There's so much potential in open world games to really build a place that feels real and alive and teeming with stories big and small. And there's an incentive to find this stuff, because the game begins with nothing filled in on your map. So when you see a new icon for a location on your Pip-Boy nearby, you want to go find out what it is, because every location has something cool, and so you can use it as a fast travel location to return here later. New Vegas is interesting too, in that it's open so that you can technically go anywhere at any time, but the level scaling definitely discourages you from taking some things on super early, like those Cazadors just outside of Goodsprings. If you try to leave the town any other way than the main road right at the start of the game, these giant bugs show up and murder you. And they're always there. They never despawn or are replaced by another enemy at random. Same with the long stretch of Deathclaws that block you from crossing the desert too early to reach the New Vegas Strip. You can try to outrun both of these things and maybe you'll get lucky or maybe you'll find some other way around, but the challenge will always be waiting for you, and making it super unlikely that you'll wander off too early and miss these other areas, like Prim and Novak, which are early in the game and full of their own quests and stories. I haven't played any of the open world games that I've seen Scarlet and Violet most compared to. I haven't played any of the Xenoblade games on the Switch or Breath of the Wild, so I don't know what their closest peers are like. But Scarlet and Violet are definitely a different breed of open world game than Fallout, and for good reason. They use the world to do different things and obviously have completely different goals. First of all, Scarlet and Violet's map starts all the way filled in, so you know where everything is right away. And the exploration is not driven necessarily by discovering new locations in Paldea. You do get access to additional quick travel locations by visiting them once though, so that part is still similar. And there are some secret quick travel points you can unlock by visiting the watchtowers in each area. I assume that the main reason you start already knowing where everything is though, is that online play with friends is a major component of the game, and it would be extremely inconvenient to find your friends to try to meet up if you have no idea where anything is. Also, this is a game for kids still, so being able to set a waypoint anywhere to find your way to the next city is a good way from keeping even the least experienced adventurers from getting too lost. The world itself is home to a variety of biomes, and interesting formations of land and rock to climb and explore winding paths through. It features varied locales, forests of bamboo and of large trees, deserts, snowy mountainscapes, oceansides, plains, rivers, and so on. However, the biggest difference between the way Scarlet and Violet's world is designed compared to something like New Vegas is that instead of intentionally set up tableau or interesting hidden secrets that primarily convey storytelling information, for the most part the main feature of the landscape is the Pokemon that spawn on it. It would be more like if Fallout New Vegas was just endless desert with nothing breaking it up, but instead everything from Deathclaws to rad scorpions spawned every 3 feet to make the world feel populated. It's not entirely random in Pokemon. There are still areas where you will almost always find certain types of Pokemon, but rather there are various spawn bubbles for each species covering various areas of the map that create certain percentage chances of what you'll find where. Don't come for me, Cerebi, I'm doing my best to understand it, I'm not a genius like you. And the main incentive that you have for exploring each nook and cranny is finding out where on this giant map you can find a Heracross, or plunging into some unexplored corner and figuring out what you'll find there. The Pokemon that appear, and finding and catching more of them, are also your primary motivation for completing more story content. As doing the main quests unlock more territory to explore as Team Star moves out of your way, it unlocks different modalities of getting around as you get more Urba Mystica, and earning more gym badges allows you to catch stronger Pokemon in further areas of the map and have them obey you. All this makes for an altogether different open world experience in a game like New Vegas, but still plays to the unique strengths of Pokemon as a series. Catching them all is really fun. More people are actually motivated to complete the Pokedex this time around, because the Pokemon themselves are a reward for exploring and reaching new areas of the map that you haven't been to before. But because the map is otherwise more or less featureless, and the spawns on the map are somewhat random, this doesn't really provide the types of experiences that are possible if you take the time to build out the world a bit more intentionally. Personally, I tend to prefer open world games like New Vegas, because I feel that an intentionally told story 9 times out of 10 is going to be more engaging than one that's randomly generated. But I can see why New Vegas's quest system and reliance on NPC interaction would not work super well for this kind of game. The main gameplay loop here is unpredictably finding the different types of enemies you can encounter, so that was what they focused on. And there is some emergent storytelling that can occur just in the way that Pokemon spawn. But as it is right now, the emergent gameplay opportunities of finding Pokemon that actually interact with the environment in interesting ways are easy to miss or ignore. I was talking to one of my friends about how cool it would be if there was actually more ecology in this game, like seeing the way that Pokemon interact with their habitats, kind of like they do in new Pokemon Snap. Pokemon climbing trees, or getting into fights over territory, or figuring out what they eat and getting to see them do it. But it turns out they do actually do a lot of that in this game. It's just super easy to miss because there's very little that directs your attention to notice it. It's random and unpredictable that it happens at all, and the draw distance is so short that you basically have to be right on top of a Pokemon to see them doing it. Never mind that the majority of the game is experienced sprinting through the landscape at high speeds, so you're not even really able to look around that much while you're traveling. There are Pokemon that climb trees and jump out at you. There are Pokemon that eat berries. There are Pokemon that sleep in the tall grass. There are Pokemon that get blown away in heavy winds like Jigglypuff. But despite spending a lot of time in the game, I didn't actually know about a lot of these things firsthand, because they just really don't stand out that much. I think that there's some potential left on the table here that I'd like to see explored in future games. In a perfect world, anyway. They didn't really even have time to finish this one, so, you know, priorities. Maybe a little bit more polish in the next one. You can add these things in the future if you ever get the crunch problem figured out. You know, maybe work on the frame rate first. But I would love to see more of a marriage between the two styles of open world game, taking what already works super well about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and combining it with slightly more planned out events and environments. If more of the Pokemon behaviors and interactions with each other and the environment were treated more like intentional set pieces, I think that would help not only endear the Pokemon that you catch to you a bit more, but also make the world feel less empty and, kind of ironically, less lifeless. For example, imagine if instead of relying entirely on the campsite to bond with your Pokemon completely separately from the rest of the gameplay, if in some intentional place in the game you stumbled on a Charmander getting bullied by a flock of Spearow, and you need to fight off the flock and rescue it. You can actually make some choices as a trainer there. Like, do you want to catch the bully Pokemon and use that on your team? Or would you rather rescue the victim, add them to your team, and then be a hero? Or imagine if, instead of all of the lore of the region of Paldea being relegated to the classrooms and divorced from the actually exploring Paldea, you could find something more like those intentional secrets in the far-flung corners of the map like you could in New Vegas. Something akin to that crashed vertibird that might allow you to intuit some of that information instead from visual storytelling cues. For example, there's a few places on the map already that have things that resemble ruins. These could be expanded a lot to help tell the story of the King of Paldea. There could be ancient texts there you could find, like the poems that you would find in Pokemon Legends Arceus. Or maybe they could just build them up a bit more visually to convey something about the people who used to live there. There's a lot of potential in this genre for Pokemon, but I really don't think we're going to get to see things expand this way as long as yearly releases, or even multiple releases a year, continue to be a thing. And obviously, I'm not a game developer, so take all of my suggestions with a grain of salt. There's maybe already more than one reason that Pokemon will never move in that direction, and that's probably fine too. But as a fan of the genre, I can't help but get a little excited imagining a Pokemon world that feels as rich and fleshed out as some of my other favorite open worlds are. Today, while I ask people to subscribe and hit that bell icon and send me suggestions for future Tama Bites, I'm going to do a little show and tell and show off my giant Snorlax plush. People are always asking me where I got this thing. And I'm sorry to say that it was a pre-order on the PokemonCenter.com years ago, and it sold out immediately. I had to snatch this thing up. It was also very expensive, but it is perfect for blocking my office door.